like an overprotective mother who abuses her children, or a drunken rapist who leaves his kids in fighting pits? Here's why you should support them. Besides both sides of the coin being fairly problematic, you have to sway at least to one side or the other when it comes to who should rule or not. While I'm not saying the Greens are morally correct or right even, this is why they're better than the Blacks. First of all, would Rhaenyra really be a better ruler than Aegon? I counted all of Rhaenyra's failures in this video, so check it out after if you're interested. But basically, she's a liar, kills people, and is pretty manipulative. While yes, Aegon is just as bad, if not worse, he has the counsel of Otto and Alicent. While Otto is a tiring asshole that wants his kin to be on the throne, he does seem to take action based on the idea on what's better for the realm. He's also very diplomatic and courteous. And if we move over to Alicent, she's very dutiful, which is shown in her marriage and devotion to Viserys, and also her motivation towards the Sept and its ideals. Not to mention that she actually has a conscience and a sense of right and wrong, like when it at least somewhat looked like she was sympathetic towards the girl Aegon raped. So while yes, these two may do some questionable things in their personal lives, as extensions of rulers, they would be great for their sense of duty and diplomacy. You can extend this to Aegon, who doesn't even want to be king in the first place. You can easily just have Aegon become a figurehead and have Otto and Alicent become the rulers. This is actually shown in the show. When Viserys gets too sick to really function, the Hightowers essentially just rule for him, and it's not like the realm falls into chaos or anything. Even if Aegon doesn't want to just be a figurehead, he still is going to be influenced by these two nonetheless. Compare this to Rhae, who has Daemon by her side. He would likely constantly try to incite war and conflict and overall just give bad advice to her. Also, not to mention that Rhaenyra's decision would be heavily influenced by personal trauma and her emotions, much like Daemon himself. For example, at multiple points in the series, we see Rhaenyra making bad decisions after some emotional event happened, whether that's her having sex with Sir Christian or her presumably going to war after Luke's death. If people in Westeros see her ruling the throne, she could very well make dumb, irrational decisions based on the actions those people take to get her off of it. She's not methodical at all, and it becomes even worse for her in times of stress. This also isn't mentioning that Aemon is a hard worker when it comes to his training and studying, and Rice the biggest dragon, and Helena can tell the future with her dreams. Those are definitely two people I would want on my side while I'm ruling a kingdom. Another point is that Rhaenyra has no political skills at all, and it doesn't really seem like she knows what she's doing. In the show, we never see Viserys giving her any political training. Compare this to Otto, who seemed to be pretty seasoned in his understanding of how politics in this world works. For example, Rhaenyra leaves her royal progress early and doesn't go out and talk to the other lords. She just stays on Dragonstone, which definitely helped lead to so many people ditching their oaths they originally set for her. The Greens work for the approval they get from the lords in Westeros, not through oaths, but showing that they're the legitimately stronger house to side with. But if the Blacks were in power and a rebellion started, I'd be a lot less confident in them to quell it in a meaningful way. Yeah, they would have dragons, but like we've seen before, especially with Maegor the Cruel, just burning people and buildings down will always just solve the problem, and it can actually be the start of multiple rebellions. Rhaenyra hasn't shown that she has any of the tools to handle disorder effectively, and the same goes for Daemon and her unproven children. Not to mention the chaos that can happen if her sons were to ever actually sit the throne. If Jace sat the Iron Throne, his legitimacy would always be in question. While yes, lying generally is wrong, and lying about having bastard children is probably wrong as well, planning to have one of them rule is worse. In Game of Thrones, people knew that Cersei had children that legally weren't fit to rule. Obviously, this helped start the War of the Five Kings, which isn't surprising. When you sit people on the throne that don't have a claim, then people will challenge it. Even in an ideal situation where the Greens just crowned Rhaenyra, people would claim her sons to be illegitimate, and this could start a war easily. In reality, there's multiple reasons as to why it's better for the greater good if Rhaenyra doesn't rule, besides her being a woman, which is one of the main arguments shown in the show. With her putting bastards on the throne, some people will also likely make the claim that her kids by Daemon are more legitimate. They're undoubtedly Targaryen. I mean, let's forget the Greens for a second. If Jace ever takes the throne, then there will always be people saying that Aegon the Younger has a better claim. This could easily start a civil war type of conflict. You're kind of setting your kids up for failure by doing this. In this light, does Rhaenyra really seem like a good ruler to you, or even a decent decision maker or mother? And yes, I realize Aegon has bastards as well, but the difference is that his bastards aren't lined up to be heir to the throne, thus making it less likely that a rebellion would happen. Whereas Rhaenyra is putting her obvious bastard child in direct line to rule, making it obvious for anyone to see that he's not legitimate, which would cause conflict. While yes, Aegon is a drunken fool, he has the influence of two politically intelligent people who've already proved that they can rule a realm. And and that's assuming that Aegon wouldn't want to just be a figurehead and delegate all the political stuff to the rest of his family anyway. All this is in service of the greater good argument, which I'm about to get into right now. A big problem with the "it's for the greater good" argument is that you have to accept the ends justify the means. We know Aegon is a bad person, but so is Rhaenyra. Like I said, it's pretty unlikely that Aegon would be making too many decisions in his council anyway, so the outcome of his rule wouldn't even be relatively bad in the first place. Like I said earlier, I'll take these two making politically smart decisions over these two any day. Yeah, sure, Aegon would be making terrible personal decisions. That's not a reason why the Greens shouldn't be in power. Just because he's a bad person doesn't mean his whole reign would be a bad one. This way we can have our cake and eat it too, because it's more likely that war wouldn't happen under the Greens or civil unrest because Aegon is a man and he doesn't have bastard children that he's lining straight up for the throne. In terms of ethically speaking, why shouldn't we prioritize the lives of the majority, or will consequences lead to the least harm being caused? In any case, I don't know how you can't side with the Greens here. Besides, it's extremely morally questionable to put millions of people's lives at stake because of a lie that only benefits yourself, which is what Rey is doing. Why would you want that person to be your ruler of a kingdom? So while yes, both of these people don't deserve it, I think it's pretty clear on what side should rule. I also like to address the argument that Aegon is a usurper. I mean, why should anyone follow the word of a dead king, especially when his judgment wasn't the best? Sure, Viserys claimed Rhaenyra to be the heir to the throne, but okay, he did and said a lot of questionable things. Why should we honor what he said this time? Was Robert considered a usurper? Sure, but who cares? If I lived in that world and someone took power from Aerys, I'd be extremely happy, especially if it was Robert. And him usurping the throne is definitely beneficial for the realm, so what's the point of even bringing it up? Usurping doesn't change how good or bad your role is or will be, and the Iron Throne doesn't belong to anyone. People just take the throne when they have enough power and people accept the fact. If Lannisters magically got bigger, better dragons, they would take the throne instantly. You wouldn't hear them saying it's wrong because the Targaryens have the right to rule. That doesn't exist. Applying this to Aegon doesn't work for the reasons stated before. Like this video? Check these out. See ya.